Hola, soy Juan Carlos
Hi,
Jauregui.
I'm Juan Carlos
Soy técnico
Jauregui,
especialista en la
technical
coloración del
specialist
cabello.
in hair coloring.
Estoy convencido
I'm
que el tiempo
convinced
que vas a
that the time
dedicar
you spend
a ver
watching
esta
this
grabación
recording will
va
strengthen
a
and
reafirmarte
expand
en tus
your knowledge
conocimientos
of
y
hair
en cierta
coloring.
medida a ampliarlos. Las nuevas
The new demands
exigencias
of the
del
market
mercado del color
require the use of a
demandan
good
la
product
utilización de un
and a
buen
command
producto
of basic
y un
hair
dominio
coloring
perfecto de sus
techniques.
técnicas básicas. Nuestros tintes marcan
Our
la
dyes make
diferencia,
a difference.
aportando al
They add
cabello
shine,
brillo,
brightness, and softness to
luminosidad
hair
y
while
suavidad,
avoiding color loss.
evitando que el color se pierda. Asimismo, nuestros tintes
Included in our dyes
incorporan
are corn
aceite de
oil,
maíz,
oleic
que
acid,
junto a los
and
agentes
moisturizing
hidratantes
agents.
y al
These
ácido
ingredients
oleico
combine
evitan la
to help
irritación
avoid
e
irritation
inflamación
and
del cuero
inflammation
cabelludo.
of the scalp.
A continuación, vamos a ver
Now
las
you will
reglas
learn the
básicas
basic rules for
para una
correct
correcta
preparation and
preparación y
application of the
aplicación del
product.
producto.
When preparing the dye, it is important to use these guidelines. First is the use of a scale to make certain that the quantities of products used are correct. After we have poured the desired quantity of hair coloring cream, we add the same amount of peroxide to maintain a 1-to-1 proportion. With the aid of a brush, we mix until we get a uniform cream. To determine which peroxide to use, we must follow these basic guidelines. We use a 10-volume peroxide to get colors that are darker than the natural tone. To get the same tone, or one that is lighter than the natural tone, we use a 20-volume peroxide. We use a 30-volume peroxide to get a color that is 2 to 3 tones above the natural tone. For bleaching with a high lifting power, we use a 40-volume peroxide. The application time for the high lifters varies between 25 and 35 minutes when using heating devices. At room temperature, it is between 50 and 60 minutes. In the case of natural, gold, red, brown, and ash tones, the application time is between 15 and 25 minutes with heating devices, and from 30 to 40 minutes at room temperature. When we dye gray hair that covers 60 to 100% of the head, using colors such as red, mahogany, violet, or copper, we mix them with a natural color at 50%. Gray hair does not contain natural pigments, which results in excessive tones after hair coloring. But if we mix it with a natural color at 50%, we obtain the desired color. it is important to follow these steps when coloring gray hair. The primary colors are red, yellow, and blue. Secondary colors are obtained from mixing the primary colors. For example, if we mix red with yellow, we get orange. If we mix blue with red, we get violet. And if we mix yellow with blue, we get green. Opposing colors on the color wheel neutralize each other. When applied in hairdressing, this allows us to correct undesired colors. For example, if the hair is too yellow, we apply the opposite color on the color wheel, such as a dye with violet ash highlights. Whereas if we have hair that is too orange, we would use the opposite, a blue ash color. If the hair is too red, we use a colorant with a green ash highlight, or a mix of gold and bluish ash. Everything we have seen up to now is what a good colorist must know and apply. But this will be of no use if we do not know how to practice these techniques successfully. I like to use this example. The world of color is like a building with its 4 pillars well rooted in the ground. If, for any reason, one of these pillars fails, the building, or color, becomes unstable. The first pillar is a good product. The second is to conduct accurate diagnostics. The third is to have a good theoretical knowledge of our profession. And the fourth and last pillar is the successful execution and application of the product. Now we will see various examples of how to put these 4 rules or pillars of this building, which is color, into practice. The case we are presenting is a model who is going to dye her hair for the first time. Her hair is 100% natural. We want to obtain 4 tones above her natural base color. The application of a high lift is necessary because, as we know, the dye is only capable of lightening 2 to 3 natural hair tones. Next, we will see the application of such a high lift. The model in the first example has 100% natural hair. Because we want to obtain 4 tones lighter than their natural base, we will apply a bluish ash high lift with a 40 volume peroxide. She has a light intensity chestnut tone base, and the ends have been discolored by the sun. To apply color with ease, it is convenient to do partitions. In this case, we divide the head into 4 parts. It is important that the 4 parts be well defined. Let us begin by applying the coloring cream to the occipital area, which is the healthiest zone and the area with the least heat. We extend the colorant from the mid-area to the tips, leaving 1 centimeter of the root. If not, the roots would be lighter than the rest of the hair. Let it remain in the hair for 30 minutes. After the indicated time, the dye has already started to lighten the mid area and the ends. This is the moment to apply the dye to the roots. This area needs less exposure time since it has greater heat and the hair's keratin is softer. We apply the same ash high lift, but with a softer peroxide, 30 volume. As previously mentioned, the bluish ash will avoid the reappearance of undesired copper highlights. Let it remain in the hair for 30 minutes and the color will be uniform. After this exposure time, we proceed to the wash. We emulsify the colorant to aid in its removal. Afterwards, we thoroughly rinse using tepid water. Next, we apply the Color Protector shampoo. Its acid pH closes the hair's cuticle, setting the tone, in addition to adding more shine and softness. We wash the hair thoroughly to assure the remaining shampoo has been removed. Finally, we apply the conditioner or treatment pack by massaging the hair from its roots to its ends for several minutes. Once we've finished the work, the hair has a homogeneous and shiny color. Thanks to the application of ash highlights, the blonde achieved is more natural and does not have orange highlights.
Con el paso del tiempo,
Over time, the ends of hairs lose their color and shine due to washing and the sun.
color y brillo. A continuación vamos a ver un
Next, we will see an example to restore
conseguir
uniform
esas
and
puntas
shiny
en el
color to
cabello
damaged
general,
ends and hair in
recuperen
general.
un color uniforme y brillante.
In this case, the model has hair that has been colored red. Her hair has roots with 2 months of growth, and its natural color is dark chestnut. The color at its ends is a little dull. Let's start by dividing the hair into 4 parts. We apply an external protective oil so that the tint does not color the skin. As in the previous case, we begin by applying the coloring cream in the occipital area, since this is where it will take longer to react. With the aid of a brush, we apply the colorant to the roots, trying not to touch the ends. We apply a deep red color with the 30 volume peroxide. We continue by applying it on the frontal area, trying to select fine lines of hair with the aim of thoroughly impregnating the roots. Let the product sit in the hair for 20 minutes. After this time, we dampen the ends with water to ease the application of the dye. The ends do not need the same exposure time as the roots because they have conserved part of the prior coloring. We apply the same tone but with a softer peroxide, 10 volume. If we leave the colorant on the ends too long, this area will be repigmented, having a less shiny result. Leave the colorant in the hair for 10 more minutes. The result is hair with a shiny and healthy look. The color is uniform from the roots to the ends.
A diferencia del caso
Unlike the
anterior,
previous case,
esta
this model's
modelo
ends have the
presenta un
color
color en las
intact.
puntas intacto. Sin embargo,
Nevertheless,
como ha transcurrido un
since a
mes
month has passed
desde
since
la
their
última
last
tinción,
coloring, the roots
se
need
hace
retouching.
necesario un retoque de tinte en la raíz. Todos
We all
sabemos
know
que
that if
si
we
usamos
abuse the
tinte en
ends with
las
a colorant,
puntas,
they
estas
lose their
quedan sin
shine.
brillo. A continuación,
Next, we will see how to
vamos a ver
resolve
cómo
this
resolver
problem.
este caso.
This model's hair has 1 month of growth at its roots. Her natural color is dark blonde. We want to maintain the color on the ends, since they are still shiny and in good shape. As in previous cases, we divide the head into 4 parts. We apply the coloring cream only to the roots, since we want to match the color in this area to the end's current tone. Because her base is light and has a tendency for an appearance of yellow highlights, we will apply a very light ash blonde colorant with a 30 volume peroxide. Special care must be taken to avoid extending the colorant to the ends. The ash highlights we are applying to the roots would give them an unwanted gray color. Let it sit for 30 minutes, then wash. The result is a very natural blonde, without yellow highlights. With this application, we have achieved a root color that is the same as the ends. Let's continue with another very common situation, gray hair. In this case, the model has a large percentage of extremely strong gray hairs. The roots have had 2 to 3 months of growth. Let's see how to solve this problem. The model's hair is 70% gray and has roots with over 2 months of growth. In addition, she has thick hair that is difficult to color. She has an intermediate blonde color with brown highlights in the middle and ends. The highlights are also discolored. After dividing the head into 4 parts, we apply the external protective oil. In this case, we begin to apply the colorant from the forehead, since it is the area with the greatest amount of gray. We apply the colorant only to the roots. The object here is to match the tone of the roots with the mid-hair. The color is always more enhanced on gray hair. That is why we apply a dark brown blonde, which is a darker tone than the one desired. We apply a 20 volume peroxide. We remind you that it is very important to respect the proportions of peroxide and coloring cream for proper coverage. A heating device can help the colorant penetrate with greater ease. We let it sit for 30 minutes, then wash. The result is total coverage of the gray, presenting a uniform tone. In our final example, we'll perform a coloring in two tones. In these types of techniques, various colors can be mixed. This allows us to explore our creativity. The model has a medium-intensity blonde tone with soft highlights that have little contrast. In this case, the head partitions will be done in the following manner. Lateral sections. A triangle in the upper area and in the front area. We begin on the first area by doing a knitted highlight on which we apply a 20 volume peroxide. The next highlight is made in a veil shape, and we apply a brownish blonde with a 10 volume peroxide. To keep the colors from mixing and creating undesired patches, we apply the product to the root, taking special care not to touch the scalp. Once the front area is completed, we continue alternating bleached and brown highlights to the end. Lastly, we apply the brown color on the back and on the triangle on top. During the wash, we pay special attention to rinsing highlight by highlight, avoiding mixing them and thereby losing intensity. The exposure time is determined by the intensity of the tone we wanted to achieve with the bleaching. This can never be less than 20 minutes. With this technique, the result is contrasted and bright colors, which highlight the face. The back part is shiny and natural, with beautiful bright browns. The result is quite current in fashion and offers a more creative dimension.